Hi, my name is Bill, and I'm an alcoholic. When I first said those words, well, I didn't actually say them. I wrote them down just to kind of see what it might feel like to see them in print in my own handwriting. And what immediately occurred to me was that I was either going to have to erase those words, throw away my journal, or start keeping two journals. One in which I wrote my continuing drunken escapades, and one where I wrote everything else, whatever else there might be. I want to thank you for inviting me to come speak here today, but you'll have to excuse me, or no, you don't have to do anything. It's just that I've been in kind of a weird place, and we have a saying on most of our birthday or anniversary chips, or whatever you want to call them. To thine own self be true. And I've taken that to heart. So I'm bringing my weird place here with me tonight. Usually, when I'm asked to speak at a meeting, I make an effort to clear my head and just get into the moment, not think about what I'm going to say. Today, that required no effort whatsoever, because I have no idea what I'm going to say or talk about. But I'm just going to try to be here and to mine own self be true. When I started off a minute ago, I said I'm an alcoholic. So does that mean I am an alcoholic just because I said so? We have a little section at the beginning of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's called The Doctor's Opinion, and it sets out the idea that maybe disastrous drinking isn't a personal failing, but more like a disease. But it's not called the doctor's truth. It's called an opinion. And it's an opinion that a lot of people, if they think about it at all, that is, they probably don't agree with. And so maybe that's why we're all here tonight together. Maybe that's why I'm here, because if I were somewhere else saying what I'm saying here, people might argue with me. They might say things like, no, drinking is a choice. You can stop if you want to. You can moderate even if you want to. Or they might say something like, why would you want to think of yourself as an alcoholic, like a totally different class of person, an alien? How does that help you? Aren't you just creating a story for yourself about a sick, weak person? And I guess the idea goes, and why I might be here tonight rather than out there with the so-called normies, is because, or I guess the reasoning would go that I actually do think I'm weak. I wouldn't be able to handle that barrage of questions. It would confuse me, and that confusion might put me over the edge, make me drink again. Maybe I need things to be simple. This is a simple program for complicated people, so the saying goes. So, is that what I'm saying when I say I'm an alcoholic? I mean, my name is Bill and I'm complicated. I need things to be simple. Don't ask me any difficult questions. I can't handle them. Go away. Leave me alone if you don't agree with me. I need to go be with my people, alcoholics. And so here I am. And here I've been for nearly 17 years, 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes more. A few periods of time less, I admit. And most of my friends are also self-proclaimed alcoholics, complicated people, for whom I've strived to keep things simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Or some people like to soften the stupid with the word sweetie. Keep it simple, sweetie. So instead of talking about or questioning things, my life and most of my interactions with other people boils down to, rather than being a complex, rich tapestry or anything, 12 steps. 12 simple steps. But I've been thinking lately and wondering, are these steps really simple? Like, for instance, what's this moral inventory that it's suggested we do in step 3? In the book, there are 3 columns I'm resentful at, the cause, and affects my. Like, it affects my sense of security or social or sexual relations. Other people I notice in the program add a 4th column, my part, which I've never understood, but then again, I can't really say how those 3 columns constitutes a moral inventory or a moral inventory either. Then there are whole big workbooks with hundreds of questions to answer, and some people call that a moral inventory. So what's simple about all of this? Well, I did it. Whatever it was, and I haven't had a drink in 17 years. So that means it works, right? Because I haven't had a drink. But then I think, what kind of logic is that? It's like those people who say, put 4 drops of oil of oregano in a glass of water and drink it every time you feel like you're going to get a cold, and you'll never have a cold again. Or we point around the room, see so-and-so, she worked the steps, and she's been here for 35 years, continuously sober. But she's the only person with 35 years of sobriety in the room. What does that tell you? I mean, not that I'm saying I know the answer. I'm just asking the question. And speaking of questions, a newcomer asked me a question recently, and it's not like this question hasn't occurred to me before, but this was the first time I had to try to answer it because he asked it. He said, they always say in the meetings that the people who go out and drink and then come back all beat up again, they're proof that once you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic. You can never drink safely again. But he says, and I can't really disagree with the logic here. He says, if someone drank again and it wasn't a problem, it didn't spiral out of control, why the hell would they come back to an AA meeting to tell us? Certainly they wouldn't expect a warm welcome at an AA meeting, bringing news like that. People would probably just think, I've thought of it myself. Well, it's okay for now, but give it a few more weeks or months, and he or she will be loaded or in the hospital or in jail or dead. Or worse yet, they'll have killed some innocent bystander in a drunk driving accident and have to live with that for the rest of their lives. And then they won't be whistling Dixie. They'll wish they'd stayed right here in their seat like I'm going to do, because I'm no fool. Or someone else said to me recently, what was it they said? They said, you know how they say that the people in the bars weren't your real friends? Did they try to stay in touch when you stopped drinking? No. They were just friends when you were a drinking buddy. Well, this person says to me, I feel like if I went out or back drinking, some people, well, most of the people I've met in AA, they wouldn't be searching me out unless it was trying to save me or something. So what's the difference? She asked. Are my AA friends really any more real than my drinking friends? Tough nut to crack. Okay, so I know I'm getting kind of off the typical format, which is to share what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And I guess I've gone a bit into what it's like now, as messy as that might be. So I'll try to talk about what it was like. So what was it like? I was an uncomfortable kid. I had rashes and dizzy spells. My parents took me to an allergist when I was like 8 or 9, and they did all kinds of inconclusive tests. But they gave me an idea, a simple idea, that there was something in my environment that was triggering an allergy. And our big book also talks about alcoholism as an allergy. Alcohol is something we have to avoid because it triggers our allergy, an allergy of craving for more alcohol. So anyway, I started quietly but systematically removing things from my diet to try to get rid of my rashes and dizzy spells. So milk and sugar and eggs and wheat, chewing gum. I quietly refused each one for a good period of time and waiting to see if the rashes would disappear. But in the end, I could only conclude that I was either allergic to water or to baby oil. I couldn't stop drinking water, taking a shower and such. And as for the baby oil, it was part of, it was part of my masturbation ritual. And I tried to stop that, but I couldn't. I didn't grow hair on my hands. I broke out in hives. So then I used to write contracts with myself that I'll never jerk off again. But that didn't work. So then I started adding an or else clause. Or else I'll throw myself from the pier. Something dramatic like that. But the closest I could get to actually doing that was ripping up my school pictures and throwing them from the pier. Even when I started having sex with boys next door, I knew it wasn't right or acceptable for me to be having sex with boys, and I wrote contracts or else. But all I could ever do was rip up pictures and throw them from the pier. And what does this have to do with alcoholism? I don't know, honestly. And, to tell the truth, for so many years, it has made me uncomfortable when people get up to speak at a meeting and then they start into their sob story that they were gay in an unaccepting world, that their stepfather molested them, that their mother died, that they got into a horrible accident, were victim of a heinous crime. And I was like, what the hell does that have to do with alcoholism? And yet here I am talking about ripping up pictures of myself and throwing them off the pier because I couldn't stop myself from having sex with the neighbor boys. Being gay, whatever the hell that is, didn't turn me into an alcoholic, whatever the hell that is. But then again, did doing a moral inventory, whatever the hell that is, arrest my alcoholism? Whatever the hell alcoholism is. What am I talking about here? I've been thinking about something else too. I know, danger. In this program, in addition to the 12 steps, we also have the 12 traditions. And tradition 3 says that the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. So what we usually talk about related to this tradition is that you don't have to actually stop drinking to be a member. You just have to want to stop. But it seems to me that this tradition could mean much more, like that doing the 12 steps, whatever it is that they may be and mean, which, as I say, after 17 years sober, I don't know. But what tradition 3 could mean, what it could mean also, is that doing those 12 steps is optional. That sponsorship is optional. Everything except for the desire to stop drinking is optional if you take tradition 3 at face value. And so here I am. I stopped drinking. well, alcohol at least. I still drink water and juice and such, though I don't get rashes anymore. I stopped all of that nearly 17 years ago. So I guess the question for me isn't so much whether I want to stop drinking, but whether I don't want to drink, whether I'd rather not drink. And whether really, I mean, for the purposes of me standing here today, whether I'd like to state that desire, my desire to not drink, in order to gain or retain my membership in this organization, Alcoholics Anonymous. So I wonder, what does it mean for me to affirm to you all that I'd rather not drink? Why should it matter to you unless it's to, determine if you can trust what I'm saying, if I'm one of you, because listening to someone who isn't one of you may be too confusing, not simple enough, and therefore might trigger your weakness, your disease, your allergy. But the thing is, I can tell you, honestly, right now, that I don't have a desire to drink. But what the hell really does that matter? I could spend the rest of eternity listing all the things I have no desire to do. I have no desire to eat peanut butter-filled lime jello or to roll around in broken glass. So what could be the purpose in affirming that I don't want to drink to you, other than to tell you in telling the story of what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now, that this, my life or something like it, could be your life if only you don't drink or take drugs or whatever. To affirm that success is, well, not drinking, and that failure is drinking. Simple. But is that really the only message? The only story worth telling here? Is it even true? I mean, is success for an alcoholic, whatever an alcoholic is it not drinking? And if that is the message, what am I saying to those of you who are going to drink again? Your failures. You need to do a better moral inventory, even though I can't tell you what that is, and nobody has ever been able to tell me succinctly. I don't get it, really, and I maybe even probably you're not getting it either, especially after what I've been saying. What am I supposed to be doing up here? What are we doing celebrating sobriety birthdays like their accomplishments, personal successes? I have to admit, though, that when I was sober for a year, when my tumble deeper and deeper into mayhem had stopped for a whole fucking year, I was really happy. I was crying. And I couldn't wait for 5 years to see what would be happening at 10 years to become an old-timer. But it's starting to seem like it, maybe like it never really made any sense. If you take the map of poverty and you lay that over the map of, say, abuse, war, discrimination, trauma, and all that shit, and then you take the map of addiction and you lay that over all those, the connections, well, there's just too many connections to be able to say alcoholism is random, that it's a equal opportunity disease. And yet that's how we seem to treat it here. I hear people all the time from up here say, the good news is everyone here, you never have to drink again if you don't want to. Well, unless you're constitutionally incapable of being honest with yourself. Which again, what does that? I mean, how do we know when that's the case? Or we say, when it gets bad enough, when you really hit bottom, you'll be ready to do whatever it takes. There is a place called readiness, and you just have to find it and like mess up, self-sabotage your life enough to get to it, to readiness. So what? I mean, when you've given enough blowjobs to get your fix or just to eat because no one will hire you for a real job because you're homeless and dirty and maybe you have no formal education, and then you get HIV and hepatitis C and have been raped on top of all of that, then it's going to be easier to get sober, to do anything. Does that make sense? Should we call someone who somehow survives on the street with people throwing shit at them and calling them names, high school kids out on joyrides, taunting them for sport, being exploited, $5 for a blowjob, jailed for whatever, turned away, or just shamed away from hospitals, shelters, churches, doctors' offices, friends, family, AA meetings? Should I be telling that person, however obliquely, however indirectly, that they're a failure if they drink? That they are weak and diseased? Come back when you're ready? Could someone who's weak, a weak person, could a weak person even survive a life like that? I mean, sounds to me like someone would have to be pretty strong, maybe even stronger than me with my 17 years of sobriety. I mean, is it really a badge of honor for me to get up here in front of you all and proclaim that I don't want to drink? Which kind of says, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of anyone else who doesn't want to drink too. We're brothers, sisters. We get it. And the rest of you, the ones who don't want to stop drinking or whatever, well, in fact, in a way, you aren't welcome here. You don't even meet the one and only membership requirement. And I'm not saying that anything that I'm saying or is how it is in, and that it's what AA is really about. I mean, if you look at the literature of the program, the big book, the 12 and 12, you can find plenty of things that that could mean a lot of things. But I'm just, well, like I said, I'm just not getting it. Why? And I'm just not sure I want to say anymore that I have a desire to not drink. I mean, even if it's true, because of the message it might send when I say that. You know, we say, or at least plenty of people do, that AA is the last house on the block, last chance. If you can't make it here, if you can't grab hold of this program, and I don't know if that's true. It says in the book, we only know a little. And yet sometimes it seems like we talk around here like we actually know a lot. That we know what works, what will work, and what won't. And what does working mean? That we just don't drink? I'm getting close to the end of my time, I see. And, well, I haven't talked yet about what this whole program is all about. It's about stopping drinking, yes, but through a spiritual solution, replacing spirits with spirit, if you will. And the idea that you can fake it, spirituality, until you make it. You have what we call a spiritual awakening through working the 12 simple steps. And, you know, that you can pretend everything is okay, even if everything seems to be not okay. And I'm living proof that I can, or that I have, or that at least I think that I have been able to do that, to fake it till you, well, I can't say for sure that I ever made it. I haven't drank. I love my life. It's hard, it's confusing, it's sometimes shocking, but it's interesting. I mean, tonight, standing here, telling you all, hearing myself say what I really think, what I'm thinking as I'm thinking it, seeing things, supports, ideas that I've relied on or thought that I did for years. I mean, right now, kind of crumbling around me. And yet new ideas, concepts, perceptions beginning to rise from the ashes, so to speak. Anyway, I guess I'm just about done. And like I say, that was interesting for me, at least. This is my weird place that I've been in. And I'm tempted to say, well, there's a saying that I like. Actually, I read it in AA's Grapevine magazine once. And I think, it's helped me to not get in a place where I'm feeling, the saying is, I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not. Because that's a recipe, being who I'm not. It's a certainty. It makes it certain, I think, that I'll feel meaningless. Like I'm here, but I don't exist because I'm not being myself. I'm not myself. So, this is me. Thanks.